Hey everybody! Alright, so it's for me day 5 of the mandatory staycation, and we're just all at home together trying to make the most of our time here. This first video I'm going to post for you all is called Maybe You Have an Instrument at Your House and Time on Your Hands. So let's get out all those instruments. I know there's a lot of people out there who have an instrument sitting in your closet or garage or an attic, just stuffed away somewhere, and maybe somebody gave you that instrument or you used to play it a long time ago, or maybe you're even like me. It's a little embarrassing to say, but I even have a degree in clarinet performance, but I've been so busy these past few years. I teach music full time, but I've got 5 kids at home, 3 of whom are age 3 and under, and I just don't have a lot of time these days to play. Well, I guess I should say those days of the past. These days, I do have some time to play, so I'm gonna bust out the old clarinet. I just wanna show you guys all the parts of my clarinet in case you have a clarinet at your house, or you're just bored because you are quarantined at home and you have nothing better to do than to watch this video. I'm doing this video to get myself kick-started playing my clarinet again. You guys can hold me accountable, so hopefully I get to play a little bit each day. You can probably hear the kids screaming downstairs, so I might not get to play for that long. And maybe to inspire you guys, if you have an instrument at home, to go ahead and take it out, see what you can do with it. Even if you've never played before, we're so blessed to have all kinds of resources online, and you can probably figure out a few basic songs. The one tough thing right now is that most of the music stores are closed down, and most of the places that ship stuff are only shipping essential items for now. So if you have something with broken strings or a little broken piece, or you don't have a reed or whatever, that might slow you down a little bit. But like MacGyver, let's just work with what we have, you know, around us and make the most of our resources. This piece is the bell. Now, I have an older clarinet in my house, and a little piece of the cork is broken off, so the bell doesn't go on very well, and my daughter's been trying to play on that one. Honestly, you could play the clarinet without a bell. It is, of course, you know, when you have the whole clarinet together, that's great, but it's the least necessary part of the clarinet. So if there's something wrong with your bell, you could go ahead and play the rest of the clarinet. These little brown pieces here are called cork. If you have one of these little things that looks like chapstick in your clarinet case, it is not chapstick, so please don't put it on your lips. It is cork grease. You can just put a little bit on that cork to go ahead and moisten it up if your clarinet, like mine, has just been sad and sitting there all alone, stuffed up in the closet for a while. Okay, then I put that bottom piece of the body in with the bell. We're all good there. This top body piece is looking okay. I don't think I need any cork grease on there. You slide those pieces together, don't shove them, kind of twist them in so that this top metal piece goes on top of this one, kind of like a little puzzle, and these keys are going to line up together there. You've got this little piece called the barrel. I'm going to put the barrel on here. Thank goodness I still remember how to put together my clarinet. And last but not least, I have my mouthpiece and my ligature. The ligature is the little piece that's going to hold on the reed. Now, if you guys have an instrument that hasn't been played in a long time, or maybe somebody else played it in the past, even before the current concerns of the coronavirus, I would recommend that you go ahead and wash off or sanitize that mouthpiece. You could use the mouthpieces, even if the clarinet is made of wood, the mouthpiece is made of plastic, so you could use of course some soap and water. You could use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, a little bit of peroxide, whatever. Just make sure you wash it off before you put it in your mouth, and that should do the job. All right, now I'm going to take out one of my reeds. It has been such a long time since I played. I don't know what kind of shape these reeds are in, but we're about to find out. I'm gonna get this reed a little bit wet. I always just get it wet in my mouth. Sometimes people put it in a little cup of water. I just do it on my mouth. You can get all the parts of the reed wet except for this very smooth part of bamboo. So I get the back a little bit wet. Even the back of the bottom I get a little bit wet. The reason you get the reed moist is that it helps it to vibrate, and all y'all who know basic physics of sound and the acoustics of music know that vibration is what makes sound. Now, some people put their reed on first and then they put the ligature over it. A lot of people have a metal ligature, I have a ligature that's mostly made of a kind of leather material here, but most of all y'all that have a clarinet in your home will have a metal ligature. And I'm gonna show you a little trick. If you put your reed on first and then you put the metal ligature over it, you have a bigger chance of chipping the top of that reed. And these days in particular, reeds are at a premium because you really cannot order things easily and none of the music stores are open right now. So, pro tip for you, even though I'm not really pro or even playing these days, I still remember a few things about the clarinet. You could put the ligature on first, then slide it up a little bit to leave some space for the reed. Don't touch that top thin part of your reed at all. Slide the bottom part, the thick part, down underneath your ligature, so that way you and your ligature are never touching that top part of the reed, because that top part of the reed is the most fragile. That's the part that most frequently gets chipped, and if it gets badly chipped or cracked, you're not going to be able to play on that reed anymore. So there you go. I just put my reed on. Cool, I didn't chip it. Good job for me. Now I'm going to tighten up that screw on my ligature enough to keep that reed in place. The position of the reed should be such that it is covering the hole in the mouthpiece, but you can see just a small sliver of the top black of the mouthpiece on the top. You should not be able to see any of the hole. If the reed is too far down and exposing any of that hole, it's not going to have a good enough vibration to produce sound. Or conversely, if the reed is too high and it's over the top of the mouthpiece, it's also not going to be able to have a good vibration to get a good tone for you. That's one of the common reasons that you'll hear some squeaking, or maybe the sound's not going to come out too well or something like that. It either means your reed is too high, too low, a little bit crooked. So you want it there right in the middle, just the tiny, tiny sliver of the top black part of the mouthpiece on there. I'm talking a lot, so my reed's already getting a little bit dry. So I'm gonna make sure again, just with my tongue, that it's a little bit moist. Of course, you don't want to share your licked up reed and mouthpiece with other members of your family. So if other people in your household also want to try and play, make sure you sanitize that mouthpiece again, and preferably that everybody has their own reed, or I don't know, whatever you can make a reed out of these days, right? If y'all have some spare bamboo in your backyard and you just whittle your own reed. Okay, let's see if I can make a sound still. Yeah, still got a little sound going. So the bottom lip is going to be covering your teeth for the reed to sit on your lip. Your bottom teeth should never touch that reed at all, just going right on the lip instead. You want to put a good amount of the mouthpiece in your mouth, and then the top teeth are going to rest gently on the top of the mouthpiece. Now, another thing that you want to make note of when you are trying to make a good sound out of your clarinet, if you haven't played in a long time or you never played at all, is a thing that I always talk to my elementary music students about, and that is chipmunk cheeks. If you notice that when you're starting to play, you're puffing out some air into your cheeks. See my chipmunk cheeks there? That means the air is going into your cheeks and not through your instrument, so it means some wasted air, some wasted energy, and it means you're not going to get as much good sound or good tone out of your instrument. You're going to get more squeaks and less sound out of your instrument. So instead of chipmunk cheeks, if you notice, you're puffing out those cheeks, try to refocus that air like a laser beam. I have a lot of Star Wars fans among my students, and maybe out there on the virtual world, the two people who are watching this video. So you could think of it kind of like a lightsaber, or you're making a laser beam go right through your instrument. You can pick an imaginary point somewhere in the room that you're trying to focus your air like a laser beam to send it to that point. I'm sitting here in my bedroom. I can send that air right to that little knob on my dresser over there, something like that. I'm trying to shoot that air. You could even practice undoing your chipmunk cheeks like this. If you're holding your right hand underneath that thumb rest and holding up the instrument like this, and you notice your cheeks are puffing out, you can try pressing them in with that other hand. Make sure those cheeks don't come out at all. And I refocus the air like that. Now, of course, you're not always going to be wanting to do that with your hand. That's just like a little check to make sure you're not puffing out your cheeks at all. Once you get that good laser beam air going, you can practice it a few times just with an open G. You're not pressing down any fingers or any keys till you get a nice, smooth sound. No air going into the cheeks, all the air going straight through your instrument. Now, you're going to, on the clarinet, have your left hand on the top of your instrument, your right hand on the bottom of your instrument. The right hand thumb is going to be underneath this little thumb rest, which hopefully all of you still have on your clarinets. Then, one by one, just to get you restarted or started from scratch, you can practice, like I said, open first, and then you start with going down thumb, finger 1, finger 2, finger 3. You're covering the holes that are on the clarinet. Then the bottom hand, finger 1, finger 2, finger 3. Again, you're using that little squishy pad of your finger to completely cover the hole. If you have very small hands, whether you're still a kid and your hands aren't that big, or even an adult and you just have small fingers, you want to make sure that the squishy pad of your finger is all the way in that hole. If you have your finger slightly off of that hole and some air is escaping, that's definitely going to make a squeak or something that is not going to be quite right with the sound. You can go all the way down to that low note. That's today's lesson. We'll pick back up next time I have the opportunity. Be blessed, stay safe, love you all.